Hello and welcome to Tuesday's Top Tips done on Wednesday. Sorry about the delay in getting you your Tuesday top tips. I was traveling and we had a travel delay, which kept me from being able to get on at 12 noon yesterday. So thank you for your patience, but I'm really excited to present to you today the information that I promised last week, which was how to get beyond 100 clients. So those of you, maybe you're stuck at 10 clients, maybe you didn't even get one yet. Maybe you're stuck at 10, maybe you're stuck at 20, 40, 60, 80, but every time you try, you can't get to 100 clients or past that. So that's what I'm going to dive in today and just kind of give you some information on how you might be able to take what you learned today on Tuesday's top tips presented on Wednesday and put that into your business. Work on it. Okay. And I think these are going to be really clean cut things that you can start doing right away that can help you expand your business, grow beyond 100 clients, to 100 clients, beyond 100 clients, or wherever you want to take your business is completely up to you. But I'm excited to show this to you and hopefully this will help you. I'm going to go ahead and share a PowerPoint slide that I presented to you. All right. So here's our presentation. It is why most credit professionals can't get past 100 clients, and then what you can do about that. So again, really excited to present this to you. Here we go. So welcome again to Tuesday's Top Tips. I'm going to show you exactly why most credit professionals hit a ceiling around the 100 client mark and what structurally has to change if you want to break through it. You know, if you've been stuck at 40 clients, 60 clients, 80 clients, maybe you haven't even gotten a client, you've had that problem. And maybe you're hovering at that 100 mark. This is not necessarily a marketing problem, most likely not. It's probably not even a lead problem. And it's probably not even a sales problem at that, but it could be a structure problem. And today I'm going to show you exactly why most credit professionals hit a ceiling around 100 clients. And then again, what structurally has to change in order to change that and have a breakthrough in your business. Because I've been in the business for over 20 years, I've watched thousands of credit professionals come and go, as you probably have seen yourself if you're in the industry. And there's this predictable ceiling that I see, and it's usually right around 100 clients. And the reason I think this isn't about not having effort, because I think a lot of people come in the business and they put a lot of hard work and effort. It's not talent. I think there's a lot of talent out there. I don't even think it's a compliance thing. I think it's architecture of their business. You built a job. I want you to think about that for a second. Most people coming into the profession are building another job. So you might hear a frequent post of like, you know, I left my 9 to 5 for a 5 to 9, right? Or things like that. And that's because they built a job, not a company. And jobs have a capacity limit. We'll talk about that. And I had that same problem in my business. So you're not alone if you're feeling that way. I certainly had that same problem in my business as well. So let's talk about the 5 structure points that can cap you. All right. So I like to call this break point number 1. And here's what a lot of us look like. And this goes for credit professionals, but you know, I see it in every organization. You're the sales rep. You're the closer. You're the reviewing dispute person, right? You're reviewing all the disputes. You're answering the emails. You're putting out all the fires and you're explaining the same thing 50 times. You're the compliance officer. You're the strategy brain. Like you're everything. So at 25 clients, you may feel productive. You may actually feel good about yourself, about, oh, I can do all these things. That's not too bad. At 50 clients, you feel busy. Now you're like, oh, this is a little busy. At 75 clients, you're going to start to feel overwhelmed. At 100 clients, you are maxed, right? And so a lot of people just don't even reach that because at 75, we're so overwhelmed. We don't have time to be a really good sales rep. We certainly don't have time for marketing and other things to get more leads in. So why is this? Because the businesses cannot move without you touching every single file, right? And so that's why you get maxed out. If your business cannot function without you touching every file, you do not have a company, you have a job, right? So this is what I call the operator bottleneck. You have dependency, and dependency does not scale. Scaling requires the business moving forward, whether you're reviewing that file or not. You don't have to touch the file because there is a proven system and process that everyone follows in your company. If every decision flows through you, you are your own ceiling in your business. And most credit professionals don't realize this. They think they just need more leads, right? And that's not the truth. You need less dependency. Now, I will tell you that in the beginning, right, when you do have 25 clients, when you have just a few clients, this is where you start to build the processes, and we'll talk about this, so that you are not the bottleneck, right? But in the beginning, it's okay. I just want you all to understand that it is absolutely okay to be all these things, and which I actually think you should be. Because you don't know how your business needs to function until you are. You need this feedback refined loop for a while so that you can figure it all out, so you can have a really great process. And that brings me to breakpoint number 2. And that's no standardized client journey. And why don't we have one? Probably because we jumped into the business, we jumped in it as a job, we did all things, and we didn't take the time to sit back, feedback and refine, and figure out how we can best deliver what we promised to the consumer. So let me ask you something. What exactly happens at day 1 of your client's journey? Do you know? What happens at day 14? Maybe you know day 1, but you don't know day 14. What happens at day 30? What about 45? What about month 3? What about a graduation program? What about retention? How are you managing that? Most CROs don't have a defined client journey. They have reaction. There's reaction. They are reactive to what's going on, right? Client gets an email, hey, what's my update, my 30-day update? Oh yeah, you got a 30-day update. You jump in and try to do the 30-day update, right? And you're just answering questions constantly. So you're just in a reaction mode rather than having a defined journey. They send disputes. They answer messages. They wait for updates. They repeat over and over. But there is no standardized timeline, and chaos cannot and does not scale. Okay, so think about that really fast. So if you are under 100 clients right now, you have time to step back, look at the client journey that you've already developed, refine it. If you have 0 clients, you have 5 clients, this is the perfect time to start building your client journey. But when there is no client journey, we have chaos. Again, chaos does not scale, right? Simplified systems scale. So think about that as well as you're building out your client journey. You cannot scale unpredictability. When you hit 100 clients without a defined system, communication breaks, clients feel confused, you feel stressed, retention drops, and complaints increase. Circle that if you're writing notes. Complaints increase. So if you're having a high rate of client complaints, it's very much probably linked to not having a standardized client journey. So take the time, really take the time to do that. And you start feeling like you're drowning, not because you can't handle clients, but because there's no structure holding them together. Scale requires defined onboarding, defined review cadence, defined progress checkpoints, and defined graduation and defined retention strategies, right? So those are key things. Graduation and retention are key things because otherwise you're spinning your wheels constantly. And we'll talk about that when we get into breakpoint number 3, which is the fragile revenue model. So without these things, defined onboarding, defined review cadence, defined progress checkpoints, defined graduation, defined retention, without that, you will plateau. So let's move on to breakpoint number 3. And I call that the fragile revenue model. So this one hurts. Most CROs rely on one thing: monthly service fees. That's it. No back end, no graduation program, no monitoring subscription, no structured affiliate monetization, no retained advisory role. So what happens? When a client leaves, revenue drops immediately. So for every new client, you must replace that client, right? So it's like this spinning wheel. With every new client, you must replace, with every new client that leaves, you must replace that one. You are on a treadmill. Do you feel that? Are you doing that? Are you feeling that treadmill right now? Is that you? If that's you, you are at breakpoint number 3, the fragile revenue model. For every client that you get, that leaves, you have to replace that client, right? And so that is that treadmill type business, right? So treadmills don't build wealth. They're going to build exhaustion. That's why I like to call it the treadmill revenue model, because treadmills, you're on it too long, you will get exhausted, right? And so consider that. Think about that. How is your revenue model structured? The 100 client ceiling often exists because the numbers require survival of churn. Okay. So you have to continue to keep those, you have to keep those clients, so survival churn. You're not growing, you're stabilizing. To break past 100, your revenue must be layered. Okay. And so you got front end service, you have mid-cycle review structure, you got a graduation program, ongoing monitoring, strategic partnerships, right? You're looking at being an advisory role moving forward so that you never actually have to separate from that client. They never actually leave. They stay in your ecosystem all the time. So you're not on that treadmill, right? So you can generate income outside of getting new clients in and into your system. Without that, growth is fragile, and fragile businesses don't scale. So consider that. Look at your revenue model. Are you having a graduation program? Do you have credit monitoring subscription services that you can have your clients on? Do you have structured affiliate monetization? Do you have a retained advisory role with those clients? What do you have that can keep some income flowing in the back end while you're pulling in new clients? And of course, we talked about before, having a retention model for those clients as well. So I'm going to move on to break point number 4, because oftentimes to do all the things that we need to do as a business owner, we're going to have to delegate. So breaking point number 4 is no delegation infrastructure. Now I want to stop here before I get into delegation, because one thing is very important is that we don't delegate first. So in the beginning of this Tuesday Top Tip, I talked about how we're the bottleneck, right? We're going to do all the things, but I also said that's important because you're then using that to build your client journey. You know exactly what your clients need, what they want, how to get them to the promise that you're going to deliver to them. And so now is the time to document that, have that SOP, have that client journey in place before you delegate anything. But you will need to delegate. So breaking point number 4 is no delegation infrastructure. Delegation is documentation, infrastructure, measurement, SOPs. If your business lives in your head, you cannot scale. Trust me, I've done it before many times, because every time you train someone, you're going to train from scratch. Every time you bring on help, you recreate the wheel. At 100 clients, that becomes unbearable, and you will find it is almost impossible to train people. One, because you don't have your own system. I don't know how many times I've had people tell me, if I could just delegate some of this work off my plate, I would get more done. Delegation is not hiring someone and saying to them, can I get your help? I need your help. Delegation is documentation. Okay. You don't ever think about hiring someone to delegate work without having a documentation process, SOPs, systems in place for exactly how they are going to help you. Their training, their understanding. I do that in Loom videos constantly, training my staff on the new things that might be coming. It is really important. You don't want to have to answer the same question 50 times. In this process of being at 100 clients, you definitely don't want to have to be training someone. You want them to be able to train themselves through the processes and documentation that you've already provided. Okay. So what you're going to need is a defined workflow, written review standards, communication templates. So if you have sales staff, what is a sales script? You need to know that. You need to know what works. You're not hiring in salespeople and saying, hey, I'm going to hire the best of the best so that you can do your job and you can sell my system and services or whatever. That's not how it works. You need to know what converts and sells. And that's really important. Where am I at? Communication templates, clear escalation points. What happens when there's an issue? Who do you contact? Reporting structure. Right? So kind of like that business flow of communication. This is really important if you want to grow and scale. You can't do it by yourself. So it's not just help, it's structure. So you're not looking for delegation to help you. You have a structured way in which things need to be done. Otherwise, you're going to become the quality control, and quality control cannot also be a CEO. Okay, so going now to breaking point number 5. This is our last breaking point for Tuesday's top tips. So stay with me so you can get the last breaking point, and it's selling disputes, not outcomes. This is an identity shift that I hope you guys are understanding of. I say it all the time, but I cannot stress to you how absolutely important it is to your business. If you sell credit repair, dispute processing, negative item removal, you are transactional. You are replaceable. Do you know how many credit professionals contact me and say, hey, I just can't get any new clients because there's so many people on TikTok giving these discounted rates for credit sweeps, and I just can't compete with that. If you're trying to compete with TikTok's credit sweep people, if you're working with outsourcing companies that are doing credit sweeps because you think that's what you need to do, you've missed the point already. You are being transactional. Transactional cannot scale because you are replaceable. The next person who can give a cheaper price for what you're doing is going to get your client. So what I'm going to recommend is something that I say, looking at what the outcome is for your client. So I'm going to give you a couple of different ideas that you can consider. Certainly, you know your audience and who you're speaking to. If you don't, you need to know who your audience is, right? That's a whole nother story that we won't get into today. But if you're selling like borrower readiness, goal-based credit alignment, strategic action planning, mortgage positioning, long-term credit strategy, now you're different. Now lenders respect you. Now the consumer respects you. Now you're not transactional and you're not replaceable because there's not a lot of people out there who can be borrower readiness partners with loan officers. There simply isn't. They're not willing to understand the process enough and put together a journey that actually will produce the results that they're saying they're getting. So think about that for a second. Who's your audience? And are you showing them that you have the outcome that they might want? And then you have a journey and process to get them to that. So the idea is to be different. And when you're different, you can charge more. When identity shifts, scale shifts. You don't scale disputes, you scale outcomes. Okay, so let's talk about this for a second. The structural shift. If you want to break past 100 clients, here's what must change. You must move from operator to architect. Install a standardized client journey, layer your revenue model, document before you delegate, sell outcomes, not disputes. And if you're serious about breaking your ceiling, we're building a success boss infrastructure, which a lot of you are a part of already, and we're going to model that inside our partner community. So think about this for a second. You need a structural shift in order to get past 100 clients. Now, I'm not going to say that there are not credit professionals out there who have scaled way past 100 clients and they didn't do all 5. They still have some of those breaking points that I just modeled for you today. But I guarantee you, they have a lot of complaints. They have a lot of other issues. They may be a churn and burn type organization, and those cannot scale and last. So be different. Look at these 5 different breaking points. See if any of them may be an issue in your business or all of them, and start making changes today. And I promise you, you will be so excited that you did it. The differences in your organization and in everything you do is going to be significantly improved because of it. Scaling is not about more leads. It's about a stronger structure. And this is why some credit professionals stay at 40, stay at 60, stay at 100, and others move to 300, 500, 1,000 plus clients. It's not more hustle, it's infrastructure. If this hits you today, drop the word structure in the comments. I'd really like to see what you guys think about this. And if you're serious about breaking your ceiling, we're building that Success Boss infrastructure that I talked about inside of our partner community. Please join that partner community on Facebook. We'd love to have you in that group, and we're building something really special in there because this industry doesn't need more hustle. It needs more leadership. It certainly needs you, and it needs you in even a more powerful way. But I want to also go into, when we talk about leadership, leadership absolutely requires architecture. So let me bring this home for you. What we've talked about today was the 100 client ceiling, the operator bottleneck, the fragile revenue model, the lack of infrastructure. And that's exactly what we solve inside my program called A Millionaire's Journey. If you guys have heard about it, it is a group coaching. We do a group coaching once a week, and that is what we're going to be doing in that group coaching and what we do on a regular basis. And I need to clarify something very clearly here. Millionaire Journey is not a credit repair class. It's not for credit repair professionals per se. I'm not teaching about how to do disputes correctly, what's most important about credit, those types of things, how to remove collections. That's not what we're doing in that. This is a business strategy class because most of you don't have a credit knowledge problem. You're in the industry. You understand that. So this, we have people in this group that are not a credit professional. Maybe they're loan officers, real estate agents, other organizations. It doesn't matter where you're at to be in a millionaire's journey. The idea is that what we're doing in this is we're building a business infrastructure. So many people, though, inside of a millionaire's journey are in the credit profession just by, it makes sense, right? Because I am. And so, of course, there is talk about positioning in that industry, best ways to dispute, that kind of stuff. But that's not the focus of the actual group. But you will have a community group where you'll be able to ask questions and things like that. I just want to be very clear that I'm not focusing on how to help you be a better credit professional per se, but how to actually have a business that, it can start at a dream. So if you're just having a dream today that you want to do something, so dream level 1 all the way to level 8, which is building that legacy for yourself. So if that's something that you're interested in, I would welcome you in that. Now, I opened this back up because if you were following me in December of 2025, I did close the group, and I actually wasn't looking to open it back up other than in a more elite process. But I did decide to go ahead and open it up, and I'm opening up just like I had offered it in December. It's $297 for lifetime access to this group. Lifetime access to this group. You will get my guide. The guide is the guide for each and every level from level 1 to level 8 in your business. We guide you step by step through that. There are 10 steps to complete in each level so that you can go from dreamer to a legacy. It's a really exciting group, and I'm really excited to have you or welcome you to that group. So you'll see that QR code that'll give you access to that one-time lifetime access. Again, it is weekly coaching on Thursdays. We will be back up next Thursday when I get back from my trip here at acquisition.com. So if you want in, you need to purchase today. Okay. This will not last forever. I will not keep this open forever. This is not a reoccurring membership. This is not something I'm constantly reopening. This is probably the last time. So once this window closes, it closes. This is for builders, not hobbyists. Okay, so let me be very clear on that. So I wanted to make sure you knew that. And then the other thing that I wanted to make sure you know is that we have a schedule update. So typically I have a demo call on Wednesdays for LevelUp Score. It has been moved to Friday due to my travel. So we'll be having that demo call instead of this Wednesday. It will be Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern time. That's not on the slide, but you can scan that QR code to get registered. I do welcome you to be on this call. If you are curious about what LevelUp Score does, I can promise you one thing: it'll make your business so much easier and so much better. And you'll be able to alleviate the need for some of that delegation that we talked about before, because it has a journey all by itself. So we'll be doing that special demo call. And in that demo call, I'll show you what LevelUp Score does, how you can implement it into your business, how it standardizes the client's journey and can move you from an operator to an architect. I promise you, it might be the best demo call you've ever been on. So drop demo below and we'll send you a special invite for Friday's call. Otherwise, you can scan that QR code to get in. So here we go. This industry does not need more hustle. It needs you. It needs credit professionals, and it needs you really bad. It needs structure. If you're stuck at under 100 clients, it's probably not your work ethic, it's your architecture. And architecture is built intentionally. And if you're ready to break your ceiling, join A Millionaire's Journey. You had that QR code on the other screen. And if you're not ready for that yet, but want to see how structure works, get on the demo. And it's a built-in structure for you. But don't stay in the middle. Pick something. I appreciate you. Thank you for being on Tuesday's Top Tip here on Wednesday. Have a beautiful day.